Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, one and all, to Heresy Hammer. My name's Lee. As you can see today, I am flying solo, which is a little bit weird. Um, I'm not going to lie, I feel like a bit of a serial killer. Sat in my room talking to a computer screen, but there we go. I've not been having any luck with the technology today. It all keeps crashing and breaking, so bear with me. If you see a fist coming towards the camera at any point, it's because I've finally snapped with this fucking thing. Um, this is me, Lee from Death from the Shadows, at Death from the Shadows. For those who have never watched Heresy Hammer before, normally there are a few of us, me, Rob, and John, but they did not want to talk about what I'm talking about today, so they basically made me be Billy No Mates on my own talking to a computer screen like an absolute lunatic. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we are going to be talking about Legions Imperialis. And this is more just a kind of ramble, really, just me kind of chatting shit. Um, Anyone who knows me knows that I am a prolifically slow painter. So I haven't actually played any games yet because I'm still building and painting models. Um, but the game's been out a little while, and I kind of just wanted to do a bit of a show, just talking about all sorts, really. Just going to cover kind of what's been released so far, the problems, because there have been some problems. This is Games Workshop. Why I'm excited about the game, what resources there are, what things I've been using to keep up to date and to kind of stay in the loop with the game, what we know is coming for the game, my kind of wish list of things I'd like to see in the future, and my plans, what I've got planned to do um, for my armies. So it's going to be a bit of a ramble. Hopefully, it won't be shit. Please let me know in the comments if it is. If you're not interested in any stuff like this, then let us know. And I won't ever do it ever again. Screw you guys. But if you do like it, again, let me know in the comments, and I can do a few more like these. We're still going to be doing Age of Darkness as our main thing. Our next show will be Age of Darkness. But I just wanted to talk about this for a bit. So before we get into it, a shout out to all our sponsors. So Gator 3D Printing, if you need any bits printed, contact Gator 3D. His work is phenomenal. Bits Monsters, go check out their website. They're based in Northern Ireland, free UK shipping if you spend over 25 quid. And if you use the code Heresy Hammer, you'll get 10% off all Heresy items, which, to be honest, makes for some excellent value bits that they're selling on there. So go check those guys out. So let's get into it then. What we have so far. So the game was released, a couple of months ago? 2 and a bit months ago. Um, and I'm going to talk about the problems. It was obviously a bit of a disaster of a release. But we had the main game, and as you can see on the screens, this was the main box they released, which came with a bit of a bizarre kind of Astartes and Solar Auxilia forces and Warhounds, and then the rule book. And then on top of the box game, we've had extra releases. So we've had Rhinos, the Kratos, Solar Auxilia, I don't know what these are called, Bane Blades, are they? The kind of super heavy tanks for Solar Auxilia. And they've been releasing infantry boxes as well for the starters and the Solar Auxilia. So a fair few bits. And then we've had also re-released bits that they'd already made. So we've had the Thunderhawks, all the flyers that had been part of Aeronautica were eventually, very slowly, eventually reboxed for Legions Imperialis, and they now include the bases for both game systems, and then the same for the Adeptus Titanicus models. So We've had all the Titans, well, most of the Titans. Well, I think we've had all the Titans now, most of the knights. Some stuff is still like impossible to get hold of. Um, but yeah, we've had quite a bit released, and it's given us a chance to get some basic forces together. People have been building. I've been watching stuff on Instagram and stuff. People's forces coming together. Um, but I am now looking forward to kind of the second wave, so we can kind of everything's a bit generic. People are running kind of a lot of the same stuff, and a lot of the knights and stuff that I think the Porphyrins pretty much haven't been available. But it's been fairly substantial releases, and we've also had all the terrain. So they did the tiles, which if you're a millionaire, you've gone and brought. If not, you just use um, normal gaming mats like normal human beings. And they released or repackaged a lot of their terrain that they'd originally released for Adeptus Titanicus. And this is pretty awesome stuff, but again, can be quite costly. And I'm going to talk about some alternative options a little later on in the show if you don't want to spend 50 million pounds on a gaming table. But for initial release, it's fairly substantial. I know there's been some moanings on the internet, but there's always going to be moanings on the internet. Yeah, so what problems have we had with the game? Well, I mean, I don't want to go over this too much because we've talked about it in previous shows. But essentially, it was meant to be released in August. The build-up had been, uh, the Warhammer community articles had been building it up to release in August. And then a couple of weeks before it's due to be released, they basically said, we're not releasing it on the date we'd said. It will be a little while later. And then rather than just giving us a date for when that little while later would be, they just kept stringing us along with kind of Warhammer community articles. And different people probably have different feelings on this, but I feel like it was probably the biggest fuck up they could have made for this game. And I've said this previously in other shows. Um, the hype for the game was just absolutely just cold. Like people had been posting models, stuff they'd been getting ready to do, and then it all just died a death. And then they just kept releasing little Warhammer articles like here and there of, oh, here's a Land Raider coming. And up until then, I think people would have been mega excited about it, but it just kind of killed the whole thing. And it killed it for me. I actually lost all interest. I was so excited for the release of Imperialis. And then when the actual release came, I didn't bother picking anything up. It done it for me. It was only in January when I started relooking. I think I got sent a copy of the rules by someone, and that's when I started kind of building up my interest in the game again. But for someone like myself, like I say, I'd gone from being absolutely buzzing for this game to be released to just didn't give two shits. Like I didn't care. Like you've ruined it. Like I was bored of the articles, and it was a shame, a real shame. And we've heard lots of different reasons as to why they they delayed the release of the game, and it must have been a good reason because otherwise they just wouldn't have done it because they must have realized this was going to have a knock-on effect. But it's a shame, and I think it did kill the vibe for a lot of people. Certainly, like I say, myself included. And then the game was finally released, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But basically, you can get hold of anything. And GW have been having this problem, not just with Legions Imperialis, kind of across the board. So people were slowly getting hold of bits and bobs, and then they released a community article on the 4th of Jan telling us that the Great Slaughter was going to be available for pre-order at the end of that month. And again, like it started building up the hype. People were excited. We knew we'd seen kind of the second wave of models that were going to be coming. And then at the end of January, they put a tiny little comment at the back end of one of their articles for one of the Age of Darkness articles, I think it was. I can't remember now. Basically saying that the Great Slaughter will be out later this year. So it had gone from being released at the end of January to later this year. And again, a lot of people were just like, for fuck's sakes, Games Workshop, get a grip of your life. Like, you can't keep stringing people along. People get excited for something, and then you say, oh no, actually, it's going to be later. Um, People just go and spend their money elsewhere or go and do something else. And this was a bit of a kick in the teeth for me, um, for kind of the forces I want to run. Because I kind of am waiting for the second wave. I know it's coming. They've shown it. I just want it. Like, stop cock teasing me and just give me what I want, you little slags. Um, so again, the internet kind of erupted in fucking bullshit, which the internet will always do. But some of it's kind of justified because it's just a bit shit, you know. And I get things change. There's stuff going on in the background that we don't get to see, but you know, when you just keep delaying releases of a game, people just get fed up. So it hasn't been the easiest of starts for Legions Imperialis. It really, really hasn't. And then this is probably one of the biggest problems that I've had, is just getting hold of stock. And I know this has been across the board. I don't know what's going on with GW. I think they've just, I think they're just probably releasing too much that they can't keep up with the demand. Um, but because I wasn't in on the initial release, everything had sold out and I just couldn't get hold of anything. So even once I'd read the rules and actually wanted to get involved in the game, I couldn't because I couldn't get hold of anything. And you just think, as a business, this is so fucking mental. Like, how can your whole being is to make money and you're not letting people spend their money on your product. Like, it's just insane. Um, and I've actually had it a few times because I brought a load of Aeronautica stuff when we because we first heard of Legion as Epic. They were giving us little sneak peeks, weren't they? Like months and months ago, last year. So people started buying up Adeptus Titanicus stuff. People were buying up Aeronautica stuff, which I did. I brought some Storm Eagles and some Xiphons. But I had to wait to get the bases. And then I've just not been able to get hold of the bases because they're constantly out of stock. And after about 2 months of trying, some finally turned up yesterday. But it's taken me literally 2 months just to get hold of some bases. And you're like, this is insane. Like, how can you just not provide any of this stuff? Like, I want to spend my money on your stuff. Um, and with the infantry and stuff, I just went to a 3D printer in the end because I wanted to start work on it. I want to start doing this stuff. I don't want to sit away and I don't want to spend eBay prices. So I'm just going to go to a 3D printer. Good friend of ours of the show hooked me up with some sweet Mark II dudes, 8mm dudes, and they look fucking brilliant. And I'm glad I did it because it was a third of the price. They look amazing. And I know a lot of people are a bit umming and ahhing about 3D printing. Some people are like just 3D printing entire armies. And other people are like, oh no, you must support GW. But how can you support a company when they don't make it available? I want to build this stuff. I want to play this game. You've provided the game, but you're not letting us buy anything. Like, so yeah, it's a bit frustrating when you just want to play a game and you can't actually get hold of stuff. And my only advice to people who have been suffering this, some people have found it quite easy. I've heard some people like, yeah, no, I just went on there and brought it all. Like, yay, well done. But some people like myself haven't had much luck. And my only advice would be just keep going on different websites, keep following things, because I notice with GW every so often it'll just appear that something's available. And you have a little option on their absolutely dog shit website that they can email you when it becomes available. And I've noticed that they just don't. Sometimes they do email you when it becomes available. A lot of the time, I just haven't received an email, so I wouldn't rely on that function either. because as anyone knows, the Warhammer website is just absolute turbo dog shit. So yeah, like I say, not the greatest way to sell a product, not the greatest start to a brand new game system. When people are just giving up through frustration of not being able to get anything. But oh, and also yeah, because of the delay of releasing Li, Warhammer: The Old World came out about 2 minutes after the release of Li, and a lot of people were just like, "No, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going Old World." They've already got armies, or they've been buying stuff because you know a lot of the Age of Sigma stuff can be moved over or be used. I personally love the old world, but I haven't brought into this. I just can't be doing with another system at the minute. But yeah, again, this kind of killed the hype of the release. It felt like it'd only been out a few minutes, and then they're releasing another game system, and a lot of people's attention was diverted from Epic to the old world, which again was a shame. Like, you know, if you'd given it 3 months, people would have built armies, been playing games, they would have got into it, and they'd have still brought into all this, but at least they would have had armies. A lot of people have just dropped projects halfway through just to go and do the old world, and I'm hoping those people will come back to Epic, but who knows? But again, I do think that was just an issue with the initial delay, which just kind of fucked everything, really. Um, but like I said, not the best start to a gaming system. So why am I excited about this game that they've basically made it almost not impossible, but very hard to get into? Well, the main thing was when I got sent a copy of the rulebook, I started reading the rules and I was like, yeah, you know what? This actually sounds like a really good game. Um, The rules themselves seem fairly basic, fairly easy. There's a lot of special rules, a lot of the weapons with kind of special rules, and there's a lot of depth to the game in those special rules. It seems to me, like I say, I haven't actually managed to play a game, so I'm probably the least qualified person to actually do a show about this, but here we are. Um, but I think one of the biggest things for me was, and it's one of the things I've really struggled with Age of Darkness second edition, is that the rules were actually clear in Legions Imperialis. Like I read the rules and I didn't think, what the fuck do you actually mean? You know, they're not using 15,000 words to explain one rule. There's a few bits in there that are a bit convoluted, but it's a war game. You will always interpret something different to someone else. But on the whole, I read the book and I was like, this actually seems like a really fun game. Um, the rules, I actually understand them. I don't have to go onto a WhatsApp group and be like, what the fuck does this rule mean? Because it doesn't make any sense. They've used half a page to describe something that could be used that could be explained in 10 words, which is what I have found with Age of Darkness second edition is some of the rules writing, like, and I love the 28mm version, don't get me wrong. You know, I wouldn't be doing Heresy Hammer if I didn't love it, but some of the rules writing on that is just mind-blowingly complicated when it doesn't need to be. And I haven't really had any of that with Legions Imperialis. So I kind of read the rule book and I was like, you know what, this actually seems like a really good game. And then I started remembering why I was getting excited in the first place. And the reason I was getting excited in the first place is kind of what you can see from this artwork. And this is just all kind of fairly old, old Heresy artwork. And I love it. This to me is the Heresy, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of troops storming the breaches of a wall, supported by titans and dreadnoughts and flyers and tanks and super heavy tanks. And you just don't get that in Age of Darkness. Like, and I love the 28mm version, but it isn't the sprawling. mass warfare that we read about in the Heresy books. Um, and this just really gets my imagination going, um, for things that can be done within games, within campaigns, at events. Um, I love the idea of uh, entire, units of flies screeching across the battlefield, dropping off infantry, uh, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 assault marines jumping out the back of flies. It's just stuff that you don't get in second edition Heresy, especially with the flies rules. In the 28 mm version at the minute, like the flies rules are just trash for Age of Darkness at the minute, and you rarely ever see flies. And I know there was an event not long ago, and someone took flies and said they did nothing. They either died straight away or they just did nothing. Um, Whereas I feel with Legions Imperialis, it is really an all-armed game. You want tanks, you want infantry, you want flyers, you want this, you want that. And that to me just really gets my imagination going for what the heresy should be. Um, and I mean, look at this. This was from one of the Warhammer articles, one of the armies. And it's just so cool, isn't it? Look at that, like six Kratos. So if you wanted to play six Kratos in a game, you'd have to have the big of 28 mm. You'd have to have the biggest table. And anyone who's ever played large games of Horus Heresy of 40K, kind of like seventh edition, sixth, seventh edition, like they just grind on after a while. They take so long to play. Um, Whereas look at this. I mean, what have you got there? What's that? 16, 17 drop pods. So cool. A billion tanks, 1,000 infantry, like maybe not that much, but you know what I mean? Like this really just looks so cool to me. I'd love to see this on a battlefield, moving about, taking objectives, blowing up buildings, planes flying on, shooting shit up. Just, I fucking love it. It's so cool. Um, and then this is just a clip of a campaign rules from the next book coming up, but it kind of just a picture to show kind of my ideas really, of one of the reasons why I'm excited. And I'm really excited to see where events go with Legions Imperialis. I'd really love to see uh, uh, Li mixed in with normal Age of Darkness events. So you'll have 28 mm and 8 mm both at the event, but also just Li events. And I think you could run an awesome campaign weekend with Legions Imperialis. And I think, you could really do stuff like Talon. Um, well, any major battle that you could think of, you could do a really good job of running a campaign. You can have you can, when they're finally released and we can actually get hold of them, you could have people bring different different lists. So the first game could be, traitors assaulting a planet. So your force has to be everything in drop pods and flies because that's your force attacking from space, and then the defenders have to have whatever force. And then the next game, the traitors have to have all armor. All the troops have to be in vehicles because that's your armored breakthrough of like the front lines. And then the next game could be like heavy infantry and then built up areas. So you could have, infantry moving from building to building because that's them now breached like the walls and they're attacking the cities. And I feel like you could really, really come up with some really cool campaigns, because the armies are easy to paint. You can actually, if you wanted to do that for a 28 mm, it'd be a fucking nightmare. No one wants to paint 10 bloody 10, 12 drop pods to then not use to only use in one game. Like people just wouldn't do that. But if you had to paint like 20, 25 8 mm drop pods, you could probably do it in well, I could probably do it in about 3 months, but most people could do it in a couple of days. Like, so I just think it really opens up um, options for making a more kind of realistic campaign. And I say realistic in the loosest sense because this is future space warriors. Um, but hopefully, you know what I mean. I just think event organizers can really go nuts in you know in a year or so when the game's been released for a while and people have built up armies, just really go nuts with the narrative of these campaigns, and it just really gets my juices flowing thinking about it. So that's kind of why I'm excited about the game. Um, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of getting armies built and get some games in. Um, so some of the resources I have been using, these are just like a snippet of the things that I've been kind of watching or listening to. So Maximal Fire, anyone who has been playing Adeptus Titanicus will have heard of Maximal Fire, but they're a UK-based podcast. Um, Previously did kind of Adeptus Titanicus, and they've now slowly moved into Legions Imperialis as well, although they're still doing Adeptus Titanicus, but they've been around for quite a while, and are definitely worth a listen to. They've got some really good videos on kind of well, they do, I think they do YouTube, but I listen to it on Spotify. But yeah, they've done some really good videos on the Legios, the Titan Legios, kind of talking about the history of them. Because it's something that I didn't know a lot about, because generally you don't really get Titans in 28 mil. Next one up is Advancing Fire podcast. So this is a fairly new one. Tom Stallard, if anyone ever listened to Geno 5.2, I think it was, old Horus Heresy podcast that he did a while back. So this is purely Legions Imperialis. Um, and yeah, they've been doing some good stuff. So I've been listening to them. Tabletop Standard, again, these guys have been doing kind of net Epic 40k for quite a while now, and they're slowly moving over to Legions Imperialis. Now, I'm not generally someone who likes to watch battle reports, but I do really like these guys' videos. So if you're into watching battle reports, and I do think it's good, um, when games first come out, just to see how the game works before you get to play it. And some of that they've done a couple of LI videos now, and they've admitted that they're getting the rules wrong. So if you go through the comments, people are commenting, and there's no bitching, there's no bullshit. People are just saying, "Oh, you got this rule wrong here," blah 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 blah, and it's just a really good way to learn. So go check those guys out. Battle Wagon is a fairly new YouTube channel. And this guy is really does the maths hammer on Legions Imperialis. He really goes balls deep into kind of what weapons are best. So if you like to get the if you like to optimize your selections, then go and check out Battle Wagon. He's done some really good um, videos. And then Miniature Realms is Stu, who was the other half of Geno 5.2 podcast. And he's done some really good videos. He's not he's a commission painter. Um, he's not really picked up on LI. He's more of a fantasy kind of guy, but he's done some really good videos of painting all the legions for Legion Imperialis. Excuse me. So if you're having trouble or wondering how to paint stuff, I highly recommend checking out those videos. Really good. Um, Fairly basic ways of painting your infantry. And then Cult of Paint did some Solar Auxilia video, which is definitely worth checking out. Really good video if for all you Solar Auxilia weirdos out there. If you want to watch a great video on how to paint your stuff, go check out Cult of Paint. And then one thing I've been picking up on just kind of through the socials is a lot of people kind of getting into Legions Imperialis and having not played Heresy before. A lot of people have come from like net Epic Epic 40K. You know, they've been playing it years ago, and they want to get into it not because they love Heresy, but because they love Epic and the Epic scale. And there's a few, yeah, I've picked up on quite a few people saying, you know, they don't really know the lore of the Horus Heresy. They don't really know much about the storyline. You know, it's a civil war, blah blah blah, but they don't know a lot. So I would highly, highly recommend checking out Oculus Imperia and Arbiter Inn. They do some great lore videos. Oculus Imperia does it almost from the point of view of oh, what's the fucking word? As if he's like recording it. I can't. The name of it's gone. But he kind of role plays it, so he does it like he's in the 40K universe talking about the heresy. And they're really good, but they're quite long. They're like hour and a half, 2 hour video. Well, about hour to an hour and a half videos. Whereas Arbitrary does more kind of bite-sized, you know, heresy in 40 minutes. So if you just want to kind of pick up on the basics, definitely check out Arbitrary if you haven't already. But I highly recommend both of these if you are interested in the lore, because honestly, I think it's half the game. Like the Black Library novels, the old Black books for Age of Darkness. There's so much information out there. It's such an in-depth storyline, and it gives you a lot of kind of ideas and inspiration for maybe building forces. You might listen to a story or hear a thing and be like, oh, that sounds really cool. I'd like to build a force around that. And then also for building campaigns and for building your own missions and whatnot, making your own missions. If you know about the lore and the fluff and the history of the heresy, then I just think it helps, and it just makes for a cooler experience. And then Lost Exodite. This is a blog, a bit old school, but it's really, really good. So yeah, just go and Google Lost Exodite and you'll come up with his blog and have a look through that. And he's been doing loads of Legions Imperialis stuff, so definitely go check his stuff out. Awesome painting, and yeah, just really cool, to be honest. And then the last one that I definitely recommend to everyone is the Legion Builder. If you Google Legion Builder, this is basically, for those who haven't seen it, it's just a really easy way to build lists. You can get it up on your phone. You can make lists. It gives you all the formations and options for adding units. And then what it does is once you've built your list, you can click on the question mark next to each unit, and it gives you all the stats for those units. So for all the people who weren't able to get the cards like me because they sold out in about 10 seconds, you don't need them at all. And you don't need to keep flicking through your book trying to find detachments, etc. Because you can just click on the little question mark on your list and it will give you all the stats. So it is so fucking useful. Like it's really good. So if you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend checking out the Legion Builder. So these are just like a snippet of things I've been watching, listening to, having a play about with. If you know of any other podcasts or YouTube channels or anything worth watching, stick a comment down below and share the wealth, because you know I think Legions Imperialis is kind of a niche of a niche. So the more love we can spread, the better. But I definitely go check these out if you haven't. Some really, really good stuff out there. And then 3D printing. So Get 3D, Beowulf, and BattleBling, all 3D printers who sponsor this show. I know 3D printing's one of these things. Some people get a bit kind of like, oh, you can't do that, GW, you only have to buy a GW. But if you can't buy it, then what are you meant to do, you know? And actually, some of this stuff is just fucking brilliant. So if you do want any 3D printed stuff, go check out BattleBling's website or contact Gator or Beowulf, and have a chat with them and see what they can do. I I know in January I I struggled to get hold of anything. So I got a friend to, I can't remember if I mentioned this already. I think I've got Alzheimer's, so I'm not sure if I've already talked about this, but I got a load of Mark II infantry built because I couldn't buy anything. And it's like, well, fuck it, why not? Why would I wait here and try and buy something that GW aren't producing because of reasons, when I can just go and get it elsewhere, like supply and demand. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in. And I'm glad I did because the product that I got was fucking brilliant. And a lot more fitting for iron warriors, which is what I'm working on. I'm not a fan of using Mark 6, and I know they're tiny little 8mm dudes, but my OCD kicks in, and I just, if you're using them, it's fine. I'm not, I'm not one of these like, oh well, Mark 6 only existed in 1006. I don't care. If you like the models, you like the models, fucking use them. But I don't particularly like them, and GW don't provide anything else, so I got them 3D printed. But what I am doing is also collecting slowly Solar Auxilia stuff, and then I'll have a Solar Auxilia stuff that's all Games Workshop, so I can use it at Warhammer World if they ever do, well, for when they do events. Um, so it's win-win. But yeah, if you're interested in 3D stuff, go check these guys out. So this is some scenery that Beowulf gave to me. Um, and the picture on the left was the picture he sent me, and then the picture on the right is just to kind of show you the size, really. So that's um, uh, some of my Iron Warrior stuff on there, just to show you the scale. And these buildings are fucking brilliant, and it's 25 quid for all of those buildings that you see there on the left. Um, which is just fantastic because I said before, the scenery that GW have produced is really good, but it's really expensive. Um, and as you can see from that building, it's real line of sight blocking. I mean, you can hide a warlord behind that quite easily. So if you are interested in building your own table, I highly, highly, highly recommend hitting up Beowulf and seeing what he can do. And massive thank you to Beowulf for sending me these. And I promise I will get them painted up at some point and get some proper pictures. Um, but I am just, all my time at the minute is going into working on my Iron Warriors. Um, but yeah, 25 quid, you can't argue, can you? Like, look at that, fucking awesome. Um, really good. And then also, this is just an example of some of the stuff that BattleBling does. So BattleBling sent me a load of arms for the Titans, and these arms are basically exactly the same as the ones that come with the model, but they've got a little kind of divot built into it, so glue um, you can glue your magnet into the arm. I know you can just glue it onto the plastic arm of the one that comes with, but again, my OCD kicks in, and I don't like it. So this is just an example of some of the things that that BattleBling do, and I just think it's such a good idea. So good, and I would definitely recommend magnetizing your Titans if you haven't already. Just super easy. Like, yeah, just glues in. I should have taken a picture of the underside of the arm, but it's basically just a little gap. You glue your magnet in. Bob's your mother's brother. So good. So good. Highly recommend getting some of these if you're planning on running Titans. And as we know, with the Great Slaughter coming, I really love the idea of mass Titan combat. So yeah, go check them out as well. So we're going to take a tiny little break here just because I'm starting to lose my voice because I'm the only one talking. And then we'll be back with what's coming for God for LI. So see you in a minute. Hello, 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 and welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that little break. Just one thing I wanted to talk about before I go on to what's coming for LI is going back to the resources. One thing I have been using, and it sounds kind of obvious, is eBay. I haven't actually brought any of the box sets. I've brought a couple of bits here and there from Games Workshop as and when it's been released. But I have just been scouring eBay. I've just been watching things. Um, and initially the prices were just ridiculous, like absolutely bananas. But I mean, just the other week, I managed to pick up a rule book because I just thought I quite like the idea of having two rule books, one I can keep on my shelf and one I can stick in my bag when I go to events and stuff. And I picked a rule book up for £8, I think it was, off eBay because no one was bidding on it. And you're like, you just can't argue with that, can you? £8 for a flipping rule book. Um, so there are some good deals on it. Obviously, there's some ridiculous shit. Like the cards are still going for like 50, 60 quid, which is like I said, if you're using that Legion builder, you don't even need the cards. Um, so, I mean, if you want to spend that much money on cards, then it's your money, do what you like. But fuck that. I'm not spending 60 quid on a pack of cards that cost £12.50. Um, but yeah, it's just something to think about if you're not already scouring. Just watch things, just see, people bidding. There's some things people just aren't bidding on. And I've noticed Solar Auxilia tends to be going a bit cheaper than Astartes, I'd imagine, just because it's less popular. So yeah, just something to keep an eye on because I have picked up some absolute bargains recently, just through not being in a rush, just waiting and picking up bits here and there. So yeah, it's just something else to think about. So what's coming for Legions Imperialis? Well, it was actually released this morning, Saturday, the 17th of February. It went up for pre-order. The Great Slaughter. So this is the next book, campaign book with extra rules. So you can use Titans, full Titan armies, knights, households, and extra rules for new units. I haven't been keeping up with the Warhammer community articles. Um, to be totally honest. So I know they've been talking about what's coming in the new book, but I am mega excited for this. As someone who's running an Iron Warriors army, I really want Spartans and Land Raiders. I just feel like that heavy assault fits the Iron Warriors vibe. Um, so I'm excited for this. I know there was a lot of, well, not a lot, but there was moaning when they first released the rules that there weren't rules when they first released the rule book that there weren't rules for things like land raiders and Spartans, etc., etc. It is what it is. This is their business plan, isn't it? This is what they do. They make you buy the book to buy the rules. You know, I get why people don't like it, but crying isn't going to change anything, to be honest. I mean, you can wait. There's always PDF versions coming around if you know the right people. But I mean, 30 quid for a book. I brought one. I've managed to pre-order one and I've managed to pre-order some Spartans. So hopefully they actually come and Games Workshop don't cancel my order like they did the last time. Um, but yeah, super excited for this. Really can't wait. It'll have campaigns in it, so it'll be really interesting to see how they've done the campaigns because some of the campaigns they've done in some of the Age of Darkness books they've released have not been the greatest. In the last one, I can't remember what it was called, with the Empress Children rules. The campaigns were just like half a page of writing. It was kind of bollocks, really. So hopefully these are proper campaigns, proper campaign system. So I'm really excited to see that and see if they can be used in events to run events. Because I'm a big fan of campaign weekends. Uh, yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this. And it should be released in March, I think, 2nd of March. So yeah, this is the next book, and they've been fairly quick. I did say in my problems that it was meant to be released at the end of Jan, and now it's the beginning of March. But it's not the worst delay. Not ideal, but not the worst. Oh no, my thing won't work. Um, and then again, release today was the support packs for Solar Auxilia and Astartes. Super excited for this. Who doesn't like Leviathans? Anti-radios in squadrons, like just fucking awesome. And as an Iron Warriors player, I obviously want all the rapiers. Um, and here they are. So we got some more Solar Auxilia tanks, and the Spartans are being released. I mean, 30 quid for a pack of 4 Spartans. I think it's 24 quid if you buy it from a independent retailer. It's not cheap, is it? It's not cheap. But they look so cool, tiny little Spartans. I love the idea of tiny little Spartans with tons of Terminators and dudes jumping out of them. Like it's just the most Iron Warriors thing ever. So I am mega excited to get hold of these. And again, these were released today. And then these are things that are coming up that we've kind of been showing. There's been other stuff showing. I don't want to just keep going over the same stuff, but loads of cool shit. I love the Land Raiders. Definitely be picking them up. Again, bikes, jet bikes, Dreadnought drop pods. Nearly every Heresy, Age of Darkness 28 army that runs a Leviathan Dreadnought brings it down in a drop pod. Well, now you can bring 4 down in your enemy lines and just kick fuck into people. So I love the idea of that. And again, just normal drop pods for attack Marines or just normal infantry. Um, like just the idea of mass drop pod assault is so cool. So I'm looking forward to all of this, and I will probably be buying it all and bankrupting myself. So there's loads to come, still loads to come. I've heard a few people say kind of, oh, Legions Imperialis won't be supported very well. Well, I mean, this has all been shown and we know it's coming. So there's certainly got to be support for the next kind of year or so. But yeah, I'm mega excited for all of this. The solar auxiliary transport just look great. Yeah, can't wait. So my wish list. Um, what do I want to see in the distant future for Legions Imperialis? And obviously, as someone who is collecting Iron Warriors, I would love Legion specific units, Siege Tyrants, Iron Circle, and Primarchs. I would love, I mean, again, it's something that you just don't really see in 28 is Perturabo with a squad of Iron Circle marching across the battlefield, kicking fuck into people. So hopefully, I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't. Hopefully, they will in the future release Legion specific models. Now, I know in the new book, I think they've mentioned there's Legion specific detachment or a formation, I think it is, for Blood Angels. So I think that's a really good idea. I think it's a really interesting way to, and an easy way to add some unique formations for Legions. So obviously, as an Iron Warriors player, I'd quite like to see a formation that involves artillery whenever we get artillery, because obviously that's what Iron Warriors are known for. So I really like the idea of that. How they will do this, I don't know. I've heard some people say that it'll be Forge World resin, but I get the feeling that Games Workshop wants to move away from Forge World resin. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I quite like the idea that I've heard from somewhere where they'll just release, Legion specific packs, a bit like the support pack that's been released today with the dreadnoughts and whatnot. You'll just get a single kind of plastic Perturabo and then a load of Iron Circle and a load of Terminators, etc., etc. I think that'd be quite a cool way to do it. Yes, if you want to buy more, you end up with 2 Perturabos, but obviously just only use one. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. I wouldn't surprise me if they went down the resin route, but it would be a shame because it would be fucking expensive. But yeah, just something I would love to see in the future. I love the idea of Perturabo with a squad of Iron Circle. And didn't he? I can't remember. He had he's got his own transport. I can't remember what it's called, the Dominator or something equally S&M sounding. So something like that would be fucking cool. Because you just never see it in 28 Like the points value just don't work out. Especially since they changed the rules of HQ and Primarch and the Iron Circles all count to your kind of points that you're allowed to spend. Um, so something like that. Yeah, I love to see this. It'd be really cool, especially for other legions. Seeing Primarchs and Legion specific units. So definitely something I want to see. And also, I am a big fan of robots. So I will love to see Mechanicum coming, little tiny Castellax and Thalax jumping all over the place. But also some of the super heavy models that you just don't see used in 28 mil that would actually be fucking cool in Legions Imperialis. Um, so again, this is something that I just really, really, really hope we see, and I hope it doesn't take them too long to get it out, but we'll see. I mean, I guess the possibilities are endless, so we'll see. Um, and then events. I've signed up to an event already. I have seen quite a few events come in, but I am really, really interested in seeing what event organizers come up with, mixing it in with normal Age of Darkness, Heresy, but also kind of like I say, campaign weekends, tournaments, etc., etc. But the campaign, I just feel like Legions Imperialis really lends itself to a campaign. It's if you have 20 players turning up with massive armies, and like I say, excuse me, the first mission is kind of someone's drop podding in, flyers bringing in all their troops. The second mission is breaking the line. The third mission is taking a city, and the defenders have to limit how many buildings are destroyed, and you could the possibilities are endless, and I just think it could make for some really, really cool, really interesting events. Um, so I really hope so. Any event organizers out there that are thinking about running Legions Imperialis events, please just don't just be like. I mean, there's nothing wrong with 4 or 5 games from the normal missions, especially as we're all kind of learning. I mean, I haven't even played a game yet, but people are still learning. Um, but I do think in 6 months, a year's time, we really could start pushing the boat out with these events and coming up with really cool, tables. And again, um, with the terrain being easier to build and paint, I would say, because I've done a lot of 28 mil and it's a fucking ball lake compared to building and painting tiny little buildings, especially if you get the ones 3D printed by Beowulf. Um, I think you could do some really cool tables and even running events, kind of, like Istvan, run an Istvan event, run a Talon event. I just think it would be so cool. And you could adapt your tables to the event you're running. I just yeah. So not to bang on too much about it, but I think events is really where Legions Imperialis could just create some fucking brilliant, brilliant events. So my plans, what have I got planned for the future? Well, I've signed up to the Heresy Hammer, um, the Heresy Hammer. Fucking the greetings is literally on the screen in front of me. Greetings from the Warp. Do the Horus Heresy weekend there every year. So for those of you that don't know, Forge World used to run the Heresy weekend from a hotel, and it used to be fucking brilliant, and everyone loved it. And then they stopped it because reasons, and Greetings from the Warp kind of took over. Now, it's not quite the same as the old Weekender, but basically it's just a bunch of cool dudes who love to get together, play games. And this year's no different. They've got Age of Darkness games, they've got Legions Imperialis. I'd imagine they've got Adeptus Titanicus, but I'm not entirely sure. So don't hold me against that. But yeah, so I've signed up for the Legions Imperialis, which is being run by the Advancing Fire podcast boys. So that's a 2,000 point event. So I'm trying my hardest to get an army put together. But I will be going to this. And yeah, so that's kind of my plans really. This is in April. I think it's 12th, 13th, 14th of April. So if you haven't got a ticket already, I think there may still be a few left. Or if you want to play 28 mil Heresy, I think there's some single tickets left last time I checked. So go check them out. Just Google Greets from the Warp Eventbrite and it'll give you it'll show you the tickets. Um, but yeah, this is my kind of look forward to for the time being. Um, and this is a list that I have built for this event. So I'm going to go through my list. So please feel free to critique this list because I literally wrote it in about 10 minutes and I haven't played any games. So I have no idea if this is absolute dog shit or if it should be all right. But it's a 2,000 point list. I've got a Legion Demi company, which has HQ support is 8 missile launchers. My first core is 8 TAC bases, 2 plasma support, and 2 assault marines, and these will all be riding in rhinos. With the HQ squad attached to them. So I got 6 rhinos, and the HQ rhino will have a multi-melter. And then my second core choice is Legion Tactical Detachment with 6 tactical bases, and these guys will be riding in Storm Eagles. So I've got 2 Storm Eagles with those flying in. And then I've got a battle tank choice of 3 Legion Sicarans. And then my second formation is a Legion Armored Company, which will have 5 Predators, 3 Sicaran, and 2 Kratos, and air support of 3 Siphon Interceptors. And then my final formation will be a Warlord Battle Titan, which I'm hopefully borrowing off the ever lovely Alex. So I'm a bit up and I'm in an R about how to equip things, and I quite like the idea of tanks with the heavy bolters. So like Predators running last cannon for the turret and heavy bolters. I quite like the dual versatility of being able to gun down infantry because I think infantry are going to be very important in this game for holding objectives. Um, but also having some punch to take out tanks. Sorry about that. My doorbell's going off. So yeah, I quite like the idea of dual purpose in vehicles, but I could be completely off the mark with this. So let me know. Are you equipping your Predators with all last cannons? Or are you sticking heavy bolters? So the Kratos, I will be running the Melter Blast Cannon, whatever the fuck it's called, and then everything else will be heavy bolters. So the Kratos is basically like a Suicide Squad. They're just going to plow forward because it's all quite short range. The heavy bolters can gun down infantry, and the Melter can destroy buildings or pop tanks. And then again with Sakarans, I like the tracking for taking out enemy air, and then heavy bolters for gunning down infantry. Um, the Warlord Titan, I haven't even looked at the how to equip one. So if you have any ideas on that, let me know. But yeah, this is my rough list. It will probably change a million times. Like I say, I brought some Spartans on pre-order today, so they will probably be getting put in here if I can, and then I'll have to take something out and stick some of them in with some Terminators. And we'll obviously be getting new formations and detachments with the new book, so it'll be interesting to see what they bring to the table. But yeah, this is my rough list. So this is roughly what I'm working to at the minute, slowly building and painting this stuff up. But like I said before, anyone who knows me knows I am fucking slow at painting, mainly because I don't get a chance because of work and 2 young children. Um, but please critique the hell out of my list. If you think if you've played some games and you know that this is rubbish, then let me know. Um, Otherwise, don't. And this is just a quick picture of where I'm at so far. So yeah, slowly getting through it, but actually surprisingly really enjoying painting tiny Space Marines. Like I just think they're cool. Like they look cool and actually are a piece of piss to paint. So yeah, I'm really enjoying. Apart from I'm not enjoying painting tiny hazard stripes. Um, I put a picture on Instagram a little while ago, and someone sent me a message saying that I haven't put any hazard stripes on my infantry, and they'd put hazard stripes on their infantry, and I was like, "You're a fucking madman. There's no way I'd be painting hazard stripes on 8mm tiny little figures. Like my eyes would fucking explode." So yeah, sod that. But yeah, this is where I'm at so far. So yeah, I've still got quite a while to go, way to go. But yeah, loving it so far. Absolutely loving painting tiny little dudes. And that's kind of it, really. It's a bit of a short one. Apologies, it is just kind of me waffling on. Hopefully, I can convince one of the other two to get involved a bit with Legions Imperialis. Um, but yeah, I'm just really excited. Like I'm loving it. I know the delays and the difficulty getting stuff has been a bit of a killer, and I think everyone's kind of feeling the same. But I'm still excited, still hyped, enjoying building and painting stuff. Looking forward to getting some test games in, get just kind of learn the rules, solidify the rules in my brains, try and get some of these special rules learned because there's about 1 billion special rules. Um, but yeah, I'm just super excited. Hopefully you are as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed this show. It's a bit different to the ones we normally do. Our next show will be back to the normal format of us talking about Age of Darkness. But if you have enjoyed it, let me know. If you haven't, then let me know. I'm not precious. If you don't want to, I understand. Just listening to me droning on about Legions Imperialis probably isn't the most interesting thing to most people. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Uh, and before we go, I'm just gonna shout out BattleBling. Like I said before, if you want to check out their store, battleblingstore.co.uk. And if you use the code Heresy Hammer, you get 10% off. They do Age of Darkness stuff, but like I say, if you're watching this and you're interested in Legions Imperialis, go and check their stuff out. They're doing all sorts of shit. So yeah, just go check them out. And shout out to Curtain Games. I know Rob's been using these a lot to pick up the 10 billion armies that he paints in a weekend. So shout out to Curtain Games. Go check them out. And Beowulf, like I said, if you want any 3D printing stuff, hit him up. If you're interested in any of that terrain, hit him up. It's really good. Yeah, go check him out. And last but not least, shout out to our Patreons. I don't think I've mentioned it once. I can't. Um, but we do a Patreon for those that aren't aware. We do extra videos talking about the tactics of Age of Darkness. There's about 10 billion videos up, loads of stuff up there. So get involved. And these guys are our top tier Patreon, top level patrons. So shout out to these guys. Um, I would read all your names out, but I would absolutely butcher all your names and we'll be here for about 2 hours. But I can't thank you guys enough for the support. We say this all the time, but we are absolutely blown away by the support we've received from the community, and it's awesome. So thank you, guys. Uh, if you liked what you've seen, give a like, share, subscribe. If you want to check out Patreon, just Google Heresy Hammer Patreon, it'll come up. If you want to ever send us any lists or messages, heresyhammer30k@gmail.com. I will warn you, we have about 20 billion messages on there, and we're all busy people. This isn't our job. This is just something we do on the side. So a lot of messages do get missed, I'm afraid. But please feel free to comment on the video. And thank you. See you later. Bye bye.